This is the state of North Carolina, a major destination and an original 13 colony that often finds itself left out of the national conversation. But while North Carolina does rank top 10 in U.S. population and economic growth, its southern neighbor of South Carolina is often just outright forgotten, with South Carolina being less than half its size in almost every metric and so much smaller than North Carolina that you could paste Maryland, New Jersey, and Delaware onto it and South Carolina would still be the smaller state. With the South Carolina economy being in line with a Kentucky or an Alabama, while North Carolina is ahead of major marketplaces like Arizona, Colorado, and Michigan. While South Carolina, on the other hand, has struggled in the shadows of its northern neighbor, far too dependent on a single industry for far too long, and way down the list of sought-after business investments. But South Carolina is changing, transforming into a real economic powerhouse and relocation target of its own, with it already being one of the most moved-to U.S. states.
But this area isn't only desirable for its charm and cost of living. A large reason leaders say people want to live here is the opportunity to find a good career.
They're moving there because of jobs. We have a lot of tech coming in, manufacturing, such as Boeing, Volvo, BMW.
But could South Carolina ever outgrow its northern neighbor? Or is North Carolina so far ahead that catching up isn't even possible? The North-South Carolina border, running from the Blue Ridge Mountains to the Atlantic Ocean, has been a historic Carolina contention point for good reason. Charlotte, North Carolina, the biggest Carolina city, is located here just minutes from the North Carolina-South Carolina border, with the Charlotte metropolitan itself splitting over into the Southern Carolina state. Something especially notable as Metro Charlotte continues to grow out into deeper and deeper suburban sprawl, which probably makes Charlotte seem even more important to South Carolina than it actually is, with the Greenville, Columbia, and Charleston, its oldest city, being core to South Carolina's population and economy, meaning that South Carolina's population is mostly spread across a few very important cities, while much of the state remains very rural, something that stretches back to South Carolina's history as a heavy agriculture state. North Carolina is just as sprawling, with Charlotte, despite its vast growth and major amenities, only holding about 1/10 of the state's overall population. Just look at North Carolina's Research Triangle, with about double the population of city-specific Charlotte, with Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill seeing a level of rapid growth that rivals big city Charlotte, both in overall population and recent investment. As North Carolina State, Duke, and UNC Chapel Hill have a combined enrollment of about 85,000 students, fueling the Triangle's growing labor pipeline through an abundance of top-tier graduate talent, attracting major investments from businesses like Cisco, Eli Lilly, and Apple. While the Piedmont Triad of Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and High Point in central North Carolina has already anchored itself as a major national manufacturing hub, when North Carolina has several other notable cities from Fayetteville to Asheville, demonstrating just how highly populated, economically powerful, and well spread out it really is. Of course, both Carolina states tout significant tourism markets, with several popular beachfront cities spread all across the Carolina coastline, from Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head Island in South Carolina to Emerald Island and Carolina Beach in North Carolina. Actually, that's something we should talk about here, about the massive importance of tourism in South Carolina because, sure, it's an important sector for both states, but North Carolina's economy has been far more diverse, with major contributions from professional services, banking, and biotech alongside tourism and modern manufacturing, while South Carolina is better known for its laid-back charm and its historic reliance on tourism and farming. But with South Carolina's fast becoming a boom state of its own, its business landscape has changed, with growth in modern manufacturing, aerospace, and logistics playing a crucial role in the development of South Carolina's improving economy, cutting the difference between South Carolina and its more ostentatious northern neighbor, as South Carolina has more than doubled in population since the early 70s, while Greenville, located about halfway between Charlotte and Atlanta, has consistently been named one of America's fastest growing cities, pairing its opportunity-rich jobs market with growing amenities, a strong local community, and South Carolina's notable affordability, as South Carolina's cost of living remains nearly 10 points below the national average. While Alphabet, the parent company of Google, broke ground on its new $2 billion data campus in Dorchester County, with plans to invest an additional $1.3 billion in existing South Carolina projects, a dramatic step up from the $1 billion Apple committed to a recently delayed tech campus in North Carolina's Research Triangle. As South Carolina has become a major destination with a powerful economy and one of the fastest growing populations in the United States, with similar beauty, both mountains and beaches, and opportunity as its northern neighbor, but South Carolina is even more affordable and has less taxation, outlining a bright future for the other Carolina, as South Carolina looks to only gain in momentum and output going forward. But with North Carolina being anchored by the largest Carolina city in Charlotte, while drawing unheard-of investment numbers in the Research Triangle, with a 62% larger landmass, while sharing in many of South Carolina's best features, the thought of South Carolina ever even catching up would be a real stretch. And honestly, I'm sure the people of South Carolina are perfectly fine with that, as South Carolina has plenty of opportunity, but also remains fairly affordable, despite it being such a beautiful place with so many advantages for businesses, workers, and families alike.
Carolina is in the middle of an economic development boom as companies vow to spend billions in capital investment and create thousands of new jobs.
Many of the big players, from BMW to Redwood Materials to Scout Motors, are bringing their dollars and their jobs to South Carolina's more populated areas.
Around 15% of South Carolinians live in rural areas. For South Carolina as a whole to thrive, state leaders say these counties need to be part of the picture.